Sorry, that was my impression of the Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsulias. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
What up?
Sorry you had to experience this.
Yep.
I've experienced this a few times. I was fine. I actually knew. I felt it in like the sixth inning, but I was just like, all right, we're just going to watch this and torture ourselves. So before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified when our videos go live. So here it is. It's the Yankees 2024 funeral after a humiliating Game 5 of the World Series. And how come under Aaron Boone, nearly every time they lose in the playoffs, it's in humiliating fashion? It's unbelievable to me that this team does this over and over and over again. And I don't know if this ranks as the worst, because I think maybe the ALCS against Houston in 2022 was worse because they got swept. But as for games, this was the worst. This was the absolute worst game that I've seen this team play in Boone's tenure. Just completely terrible.
They played like an undisciplined, unfocused team. Making countless errors, not thinking, not knowing what the situation in the game is, know what play to make. And all of those things come from the manager. They do. Keeping your team focused and prepared and composed. The Yankees were thinking about what seats they were going to sit on the plane back to Los Angeles before the game was over.
Yeah.
The Yankees played like they didn't realize that the game took 27 outs to win. And that all comes from the manager. All of it. That all lands on the manager. That all has to do with how you're led. All of it. And they are managed by an awful baseball manager. And he's a great baseball guy, and he's from a great baseball family, and I can go on and on with all the dumb stuff that we hear about Aaron Boone's family and legacy and everything. It's wonderful. I'm sure he's a delightful guy.
Right.
It doesn't change what kind of manager he is, what kind of feel he has for the game. And this has been a problem now for how many seasons? 6 full seasons now. Going into his 7th, I've already been asked multiple times. I literally have already done an interview since the game ended where I was asked if there will be changes. There will not be changes. They are not going to get rid of Aaron Boone. He will be back on opening day. I can almost guarantee you.
This is technically the 7th season.
Yeah, because he started in 2018.
Yeah.
I don't like you said something interesting to me before we started the live stream in this little private meeting that we have prior. This is the first, like, you've experienced them losing in the World Series or big. You saw them get walked off. You saw them get walked off in the World Series.
Yeah.
I've never experienced this. This is my first World Series loss. So it's hard to process, hard to deal with. For some reason, I knew they were going to lose the series and they went down 3-0, and yet it still hurts a lot when you see it.
Sure. Yeah.
With the way that they got off to it, I actually weirdly for a moment started to believe they can come back in the series just because I saw Aaron Judge getting going. And I thought the only chance they had was Judge getting going. I currently don't have the comments up on my screen because I kind of don't want to see them. No offense to the 300 plus people that are in the stream. I just don't want to see it right now in the open. But I hope to God that nobody is complaining about Gerrit Cole's performance. Because Gerrit Cole was electric. He was terrific. He had one brain fart. Where, to be honest, not to make excuses for the guy, I think he went into a situation with the bases loaded and no outs and had thought, oh crap, I just got out of this with a ground ball, and just forgot and phased out, blacked out, which happens. Not an excuse, but it happens. If you're going to blame this game on Gerrit Cole and the inning on Gerrit Cole, you're out of your mind. Gerrit Cole emptied the tank, gave you an elite performance, was as good as you've ever seen Gerrit Cole pitch for the New York Yankees. And I think he earned almost every bit of the contract they signed him to and proved why that Brian Cashman's made a lot of bad signings and a lot of bad decisions. Gerrit Cole was definitely not one of them.
No. Actually, for him to come back after that horrible inning and do what he did.
Pitch 2 more innings.
Yeah.
I mean, because the guts and the
that
heart.
was really a gutty performance by Gerrit Cole, and he did not deserve what his defense did to him in that inning. I know he played a part in that play with Rizzo, but also what was Rizzo doing? I don't understand.
6 outs in that 5th inning.
Unbelievable. And I was worried when they got to 5-0. I was worried that it was too early, and all those opportunities that they had to pile on and they didn't. And I said to my friends in our Slack group, I'm like, this is going to come back to bite them in the butt. I knew it. I could feel it. I was like, no, this is going to be one of these awful, awful losses. Like it was how I felt when I was watching the 2004 World Series. Like it was a slow motion car wreck, except this was one game and I could just see the future happening. And I was like, oh, it's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad. And I was right. And I don't like being right about stuff like that. And I really, really, they did what they needed to do against Jack Flaherty. That's what annoys the hell out of me. They got to the bullpen really early. They really shook him. And it really felt like, oh my gosh, they're going to at least get this to 6 and take it back to LA, because they were firing on all cylinders in those first 3 innings. And then that 5th inning happened. It was the 5th inning, right? Because this game felt like the longest game ever. That inning happens and just like unbelievable to me how this happened, but also not unbelievable to me in the same way.
It was heartbreaking. It really was, every bit of it. I felt it as soon as the judge dropped. I had this pit in my stomach of, oh no, this feels wrong.
Yep.
The Volpe play was, I mean, again, goes back on the manager, but not focused. You're up 5 runs.
Yeah.
And a bad error happened prior. You got to collect outs there. And going to third base was not necessary. It wasn't the right play. You didn't need to do that. First base would have been fine to get the out. You chose not to do that. Again, I think seeing a ground ball there, Cole had a lot of relief of, oh, I got out of the inning. Not realizing, and then he had the brain fart of, I gotta finish this playoff. I don't know why Rizzo charged it and then stopped charging it and then picked it up and then just stopped running.
Just keep running. What are you doing?
I don't know why he did that.
That was a total brain fart. That was a brain fart
on both guys.
And it's odd to see 2 guys who have World Series experience and who've been playing in the league for a while screw up that badly on a play like that. Like, I just don't understand what was happening there.
The eighth inning was the hardest thing to watch. Because I felt like I was sitting in the electric chair, just being like, just push the button already. Like you knew you were gonna die. Just go, like end it already.
Yeah.
It wouldn't end. It was commercial break after replay review after. Oh, it was awful to watch. It really was. And again, nothing is going to change. Like if you're sitting there thinking, oh, they gotta get rid of Boone, they're not doing that. They're gonna hide behind, oh, they made the World Series and the furthest they've gone. They're not changing a thing.
No.
The only positive that I take out of this, if there's a glimmer of any hope or positivity coming from this, I think this is losing the World Series is enough of a reason to send Hal over the edge to make sure he keeps Juan Soto. I think he keeps Juan Soto in town. Especially because it does seem like from every possible report out there, that the next highest bidder will be the New York Mets.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way after losing the World Series you're going to let him leave to go to the crosstown rival. There's just no way. As much as the Mets outbid, I think Hal's going to reach deeper and deeper and deeper to make sure he keeps Juan Soto. I think Juan Soto cares about being a Yankee. I think Juan Soto understands what it means to be a Yankee and the legacy behind it and what having a whole career with the Yankees could mean for his legacy. I think he gets that.
Yeah.
But besides all that, I think if there was a way that Hal could hide behind, we won a World Series, whatever it was, to not pursue Juan Soto fully, I think losing the World Series ensures that he's going to pursue him with everything imaginable. The only way Juan Soto's not a Yankee next year is Juan Soto's decision.
Right. Yeah, we get to talk about that in the offseason.
A lot.
Yeah. Let's move on to segment 2. We'll continue talking about this game. We'll look at the comments aren't that bad, but I am blocking people. I'm sorry. And I know people are going to come back with new usernames and tell me I'm awful and that I suck, but I'm really not in the mood for your nonsense today. So I'm going to be blocking people. I'm just letting you know right now. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you're not being one of those people. Hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get text from us. You can text me questions, comments, reactions to the games. We'll send out lineups. Well, not anymore. When spring training starts, we'll send you out lineups. And any breaking news you need to know, because coming, in the coming weeks and months, you're going to get breaking news about free agency and opt-outs and re-signings and all that stuff. There's a 14-day free trial. And it's fun, when they don't lose the World Series in embarrassing fashion. So coming up next, more about this horrible performance from the New York Yankees.
Well, guys, now that baseball season is over, you can finally start your Knicks season watch and your Rangers season watch. Unfortunately, there's not much football to watch in New York these days. But if you want to get to Madison Square Garden and get to the Rangers and Knicks games, you can get all of your best seats on Game Time. And with Game Time, it's never been easier to get the best tickets to all of the big events. They've got a new feature called Game Time Picks, which does all the hard work for you. Instead of searching through thousands of tickets, Game Time Picks will filter out all the fluff and show you only the absolute best deals for great seats. And if that wasn't enough, they've now got an all-in pricing feature. Just toggle it on and it shows you the full price up front with no surprises at checkout. You can also get seat views. So if you've never been to a venue before, you can see a panoramic view from your seat in the app so you can decide exactly where you want to sit. So you can take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code one word, LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. And don't forget that you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. So, Stacey, following a World Series loss, I was asked this question already, and I wonder how you feel about it. What is it the Yankees do differently from the Los Angeles Dodgers that makes you angry after the series? I don't know if the feeling I have right now is anger, but this is a question that I was asked, and I wanted to pose you with it. Is it just that the Dodgers are just a better run organization all around? I don't know what it is. I mean, don't look at this and think it's easy to win a World Series because the Dodgers have struggled a lot over the years, and they've had a really talented team for the last decade. And the only World Series they have in the last decade, other than this one they just won, is the one that they won in the COVID year. So, the Dodgers have plenty of their own postseason failures and shortcomings and everything of that nature. What is it about the Yankees that they're not, for some reason, on the same level as the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Well, let's just get this straight. The Dodgers scored 1 run more than the Yankees in these games. Altogether, they only scored 1 run more. They didn't the Yankees lost this game. The Dodgers did not win this game. The Yankees lost this game. There's a big difference. If the Yankees just played a little better, if their manager made a better decision in Friday night's game, this series is completely different. But you can't screw up an iota in the playoffs because it'll start a chain reaction that'll end up in what happened in the 5th inning. So it wasn't like the Dodgers beat up on them. I know it was a 4-1 series loss, but
a lot closer than that, though.
It was. And just like the Cleveland series was with the Yankees. That was a lot closer than 4-1 with the Yankees over Cleveland. It was the same sort of thing. And it's not even an organizational thing, really. They have good players. They really do. And I said this on the show last night. Some of these guys go to other places and they just play better. And I think it's a coaching thing. I really do. I don't think it's an organizational thing. We have some good kids down in the minors who come up. We trade for good people. You know what I mean? The team. I'm not saying I'm not one of those we people, but the organization trades for good people usually, signs people, but yes. And the Dodgers are better overall, but it's not such a huge gap as the Yankees play made it seem. Does that make sense?
I think they're overall a better run organization.
Sure. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, they constantly have top 10 prospects in all of baseball going through their farm system.
And they're somehow able to make all these trades all the time. Like, how do you have this many people?
That.
Right.
I think the Yankees also, for whatever reason, the Yankees get very content in off seasons. They find what they want, and that's it. And that's it. Whereas the Dodgers, if another piece becomes available, they go and get that piece. They just keep stockpiling talent.
Yeah, they don't care.
The Dodgers have, I believe, a lower payroll than the Yankees, and have made the most out of their payroll by a lot. They sign all these guys, and for some reason make it all work. And I know that everyone sits there behind the deferred money thing. Listen, a lot of Shohei Ohtani's contract may be deferred. He still counts as $43 million towards luxury tax. So as far as everyone else is concerned, that's what he counts towards. He's not counting $70 million like it seems like it is, but he's still counting $43 million as the highest paid player in all of baseball towards the luxury tax. And the Dodgers don't avoid that. They send the luxury tax up. They don't care. They realize they play in Los Angeles. They don't care what it costs. And how, I hope this is a feeling Hal Steinbrenner has. And I hope he feels so awful right now that he realizes in his head, would I really care if I was on the other side of this, how high the luxury tax was, how high I was paying, how much more tax dollars I was paying into it. Because the Dodgers seem to not care. And the Dodgers have done a lot of losing in the last couple of years, not in the regular season, but in the postseason. They've had a lot of these heartbreaking losses. Mm-hmm. And they still don't care year after year about setting that luxury tax number up and up and up and up and up. And the Yankees seem to tend to try to restart the luxury tax and get under the luxury tax and save a little money here or wherever they can.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers don't seem to care. And I hope that this feeling of losing in the World Series kind of shows Hal Steinbrenner that, hey, if the luxury tax is higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, it won't matter to you as much if you win the World Series. And it shouldn't matter to you as much if you win the World Series. It should be embarrassing to watch another team celebrate on your home field. Should. Be embarrassing to watch Mookie Betts once again celebrate on your home field.
Yeah.
To get killed by Freddie Freeman, who, quite frankly, should be a Yankee, or at worst case, should have been given an offer from the New York Yankees. Their top priority is going to have to be Juan Soto. No doubt. Absolutely. It's going to be their top priority going into this offseason. I will say this, though, and although the manager will be exactly the same, the team will look very different next year. Yeah. They currently don't have a first baseman signed. They currently don't have a second baseman signed. They currently don't have a left fielder signed. They currently don't have a right fielder signed. This will be a very different looking team next year. Whether they are able to replace the missing pieces with a lot of talent, who knows? But it will be a very differently looking team next year.
Yeah. This comment made me laugh. This is their first non-COVID ring since Stacy was a teen. That's right. I was a freshman.
Thomas.
I was a freshman in high school when they won in '88. Yes, I was a teenager back then.
But they are, Thomas. They are a much better run.
Yeah,
they have a $300 million plus payroll every single year, and quite frankly, the Yankees have that a lot of years and have had 300 million plus payrolls, with a lot of that money being players that aren't on the roster. Up until 2 years ago, Jacoby Ellsbury's money was still on that payroll. Up until 2 years ago, CeCe Sabathia's money was still on that payroll. Yankees have been paying a lot of guys to count towards the payroll that aren't active aren't currently in the major leagues.
Yeah.
That's a horrible opinion. Anasia, if I pronounced your name wrong, horrible opinion.
Yeah, no, I will pay for Verdugo to leave.
Yeah, I'll set up a GoFundMe to get him out of here.
Yeah, let's set up a GoFundMe to get Verdugo out.
I'll pay for his plane ticket out of New York. I don't care where he wants to go.
But thank you for being here, Anasia. And that's a very pretty name, by the way. If my father had his way, I would have been Anastasia, but my mom was like, no. So that's a very pretty name.
I will say, the Dodgers have a $300 million payroll, and the only guy that's really hurt out of that payroll is Clayton Kershaw.
Right.
That's not active. The rest of those guys are active and on the roster. And they are a better run organization. They sign their players to long-term deals when they're younger at discounted prices, a la Will Smith. Will Smith is in the midst of a 10-year deal for like $13 million a year as a catcher. That's a terrific deal. Walker Buehler is in the middle of a long-term deal. And I know Walker Buehler's had a really bad 2 years right now since his surgery. He just got the last out of the World Series.
Yeah, that's not happening. It
That's
says
a terrible opinion also.
Trade judge for MLB talent and some top prospects to help build a decent farm system could use the extra cap space to outbid everyone for Soto.
First of all, cap space doesn't exist in baseball.
That's not a thing in baseball.
The number is invisible. There's no number that they can't go over. The Yankees can afford to keep Soto. You don't make yourself worse to get a slightly better. Let's immediately, because I know we have a long way until baseball's played again.
Mm-hmm.
In the first show of the offseason, let's immediately axe the take that because Aaron Judge can't perform in the postseason, he can't be on this team in the future. Immediately axe that take. Terrible take. And Aaron Judge should be here next year, should be on the opening day roster. They're not going to move him.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I did say Anasia's name correctly. Yay. Okay, I figured. So we'll go to the next segment. We'll keep talking about this. We'll just let our feelings out, and I'll keep blocking Dodger fans who are being jerks, because that's always fun. And remember, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees, 104 days from now for spring training, because that's when you'll be listening to the Yankees next. Look, after the way they played for that, what was it? How many games was it? 50 games where they were just absolutely horrible. If you told me they were going to make the World Series, I would have been thrilled, because they just looked so bad that it looked like they could have blown making the playoffs. Like I said, before we started recording, this is how many times have I seen them lose the World Series now? 81.
Once. Twice.
3 times a lady. This is my 4th time, right? 81. 2001, 2003, 2024. So my 4th time seeing them lose a World Series. And I've been conscious for 5 World Series wins, even though I was alive in 77 and 78. I don't really remember. Mm-hmm. I do remember noise coming from the living room, because my bedroom was right next to the living room in our apartment in the city. And I remember crowd noises from the 78 World Series, and my dad freaking out. But I maybe watched like an inning of a game with him, and then I'd have to go to bed. So I don't really remember, but 81 was the first one that I really remember. So it's not fun. I'll give you that. But, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, like you can't let this affect your life. I used to, I'll admit it, I think I told this story before, but if you haven't heard this story, I worked at NBC for 10 years, and it was during, I worked from 99 to 2009. I wasn't there when they won in 2009, though. They laid me off right before that happened. But 2004, when the Yankees lost to the Red Sox, unbeknownst to me, my bosses sent out an email to everyone else on the floor and said, do not talk to Stacy unless she talks to you. So I go into work.
That's good.
And by noon, I'm like, why isn't anyone coming up to me? Like, what is happening here? And someone was like, oh, Marcy, our supervisor, sent out an email warning us. Now, I'm like, guys, I'm fine. I knew they were going to lose after like game 4. It's fine. It's okay. I'm okay. It's fine. Because honestly, 2004 was it. That was when I was like, you know what? I can't even. This is probably going to be the worst thing I ever experience as a Yankee fan. And yes, it is. So the immediate feeling of this game really angers me. But again, once they went down 3-0, who honestly really thought that they were going to win?
Yeah, no. I mean, I didn't think they were. I wanted them to show some fight and some get up, but I didn't think they were going to win the series.
Right. Right.
I will say, I've always felt this way. I think it would have been easier to process. I mean, I remember 04 slightly just from watching it, but not enough. I was not old enough to really. I was not old enough to really be conscious through all of it. I do think it would have been easier than a lot of people talk about it now to deal with 04, just because of all the winning that happened prior. I mean, yeah, in the moment 04 would have really hurt, but I feel like afterwards, I mean, you got to look back and smell the roses a little bit. I mean, you won 4 championships in 5 years. I mean, that's an insane run.
Nope, because if you didn't experience what it was like being rivals with the Red Sox and being able to chant 1918 and, this nonsense curse that was following them that everyone believed that they had, and, the hard fought 2003 ALCS, and then to have it be, the first time that something ever happens in the sport of baseball happens for them and against us. I'm still pissed off about it 20 years later because they never fail to bring it up ever. And the Yankees deserve it. I said it, I think 3 different times this week. Joe Torre deserves it for not bunting on Curt Schilling.
Michael Kay brought up in the show because apparently for better field access, the Yankees field crew allows Michael Kay to watch the game like in the field room that's like right next to the dugout. There's a TV in there. And for better field access, the Fox crew was watching it in there. So Poppy and A-Rod and Jeter were watching the game with Kay, game 3 with Kay in that little office there. apparently, as soon as game 3 ended, Big Poppy in that room stood up and said, "It's all right. A team's come back down 0-3 before." And Michael Kay said on his show that Jeter and A-Rod were visibly pissed when they heard that. Well, like it wasn't even like they could laugh about it still. Like they still can't laugh about it. It was still
no, of course not. No.
Yeah, no, it's I will
it's
say
something that they can hold over us for the rest of our lives. Do you know how annoying that is? It is so annoying. It's
weirdly enough, my other favorite, I have 2 teams that I literally die for, and the other one is the New York Rangers. And they have prepared me for this level of heartbreak. Absolutely. The Yankees have not done this nearly as much to me as the Rangers have.
Right.
The Rangers have made you believe way more. And then the Rangers do it much more hard. Like losing in 5 games is a lot easier than what the Rangers have done to me in my life. Well,
and it's even worse with the NHL playoffs because it's
because you wait 2 days in between games, and
it's so long.
The Rangers would have 100% won this game, and then they would have won game 7, game 6, and then they would have lost game 7 in overtime. So like I've been through this at a level with my other team. Yeah. It's tough. It's hard to go through. You just got to think like you never know when it's your last chance there. Yeah. And the legacy of what goes down in Aaron Judge's career if he never wins a title, hard not to think about.
Right.
Really.
Because it was different for Mattingly because he only had one team make the playoffs. It wasn't his fault. It was George Steinbrenner's fault. It was the front office's fault for building the teams that they did around this kid who was playing incredibly. I think there was 1 or 2 times that maybe they could have made the playoffs if there were a wild card then. But this is different. This is Aaron Judge
every year
being in the playoffs
every year
and not doing a lot until, the last couple of games.
And the one playoff series that Don Mattingly was in, he hit .438.
He played his behind off. And I've told this story before. I had David Cohen on the show 3 years ago. he said that they were crying for him because they knew that he wasn't coming back in 96. And they felt like they all let him down because he played his ass off in that series because he knew it was going to be his last chance to do something with the Yankees.
I'm sure every Yankee fan wishes he was back for 96 though, right? Kind of like looking back, like,
yeah. Because
I don't know if
always
he would have
say
made it
that
through the year, but
I always say that 81 was my first sports heartbreak, but honestly, 95 was because 81, I was only 7 years old. And I just knew that the Yankees losing the World Series was a bad thing. But 1995, I just turned 21. I'd been through most of that time with the Yankees not making the playoffs. They finally make the playoffs. They win the first 2 games at home. And then with the old setup with the 2-3, that last game, I was at my grandmother's house for her birthday. And when Griffey slid across the plate, I wanted to puke. And I was still so angry about that series until about 5 years ago. And then I thought to myself, this is really dumb for me to be mad about that series all these years later, because what did Seattle do after that series? Nothing.
They traded away their best players.
What did the Yankees do after that series? They won 4 out of 5 World Series. So why are you carrying that around with you? You know, it literally took me until about 2018, 2019 for me to finally say, all right, I don't care to see clips from that series. It used to really bother me, but now I'm just like, you think about it and you're like, right, Seattle still hasn't done anything.
Yeah. I don't know if Mattingly, well, I mean, they did have the greatest regular season in Major League history, and it still wasn't enough.
Right.
I don't know if Mattingly would have made it through 96. So I always said that point was a little unfair that, if he would have played in 96, he would have got his ring. I don't know if he would have, like, health-wise made it
health-wise,
through 96.
right.
Because his back was shot.
That's why he was leaving, because he just couldn't do it anymore. And he just gave it his all in that series. And yeah, like Susan Waldman talks about it to this day, that it was the worst plane ride she's ever experienced because it was so depressing, especially having to fly back from Seattle. Like that's, 6 hours on a plane. Guys are crying. If they're not crying, they're just silent and stewing and just, really. And I mean, in a way, it motivated the guys who were still there for 96 to be like, we're not experiencing this again. Let's not go through this again. And it helped them win in 96. So
just quickly before we get out of here, Jazz Chisholm will be back. I have no idea what they're going to do with Glaber. We're going to have to really think about that a lot more. Volpe will obviously back. All indications of what I've heard early on is that Anthony Rizzo is likely going to retire from baseball. I doubt Trevino's back at catcher. that Wells is going to be the future starting catcher. I doubt Trevino will be back. I doubt Verdugo will be back. I think they're going to move forward with Dominguez as their permanent catcher. Obviously, Judge will be back, and they're going to have to. Soto's obviously the key, and I fully expect them in the next few days to pick up Cole's option. That's really it for the offseason of what is going to happen going forward.
Right.
Other than that, we're going to break down obviously every position to a fine powder over the next few months. But right now it's heartbreaking, and I think for the two of us, I don't want to speak for you, but for me at least, I really want to thank everybody. I mean, this is my first year on Locked On Yankees. I've loved it, every second of it. Throughout the entire summer, the bad parts of the year, the great parts of the year. It was a terrific year. I look forward to being back next year because it's terrific. We have 608 people somehow watching us live at past midnight after the Yankees lost the World Series.
Well, we also have Dodger fans in here rubbing it in too. But thank you for tuning in, guys.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Congratulations to you guys, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's an awesome feeling. But yeah, I mean, this was a great year. We went over 7,500 followers, subscribers on YouTube. As a show total, there's over 1 million people that have listened to this show. It really is remarkable. It's a great family to be a part of, and I can't wait for next year already.
Yeah, this has been interesting because it's funny going from no playoffs last season to making it to the World Series. I mean, it's a big jump, even though it's the Yankees. It's, they've missed the playoffs in other years and not made the World Series. Although 2008, they went from not making the playoffs to winning the World Series in 2009. But that's only because George was dying and they decided, hey, let's get every good free agent and build up this team. So, yeah, but thank you guys so much. We're up over 7,700 subscribers, which is amazing. we have our group of people who are in here every night when our videos premiere, no matter how late it is. There are some days where games end later and I'm, struggling to get the episodes up by 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're all still there. We have a group of regulars who are always in the chat, and we love you and appreciate you so much. You make us want to do this, because if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be fun doing this. And I'm going to make an executive decision. I think we need to take Friday off. Because we've done a bunch of games, shows after games and stuff like that. And I think we need a break. I think we need a 3-day weekend. And I hope you all forgive us for that. But I emotionally need Friday off.
I don't hate the decision.
Yeah, but we'll be back Monday, 5 days a week. We're 5 days a week until probably the week before Christmas. And, so next week, Fan Mail Friday's back. Fan Mail Friday's back. So, as usual, Monday through Thursday videos, pinned comments, or pinned comment on those videos. Leave your questions. If you're an insider, you know the drill. Send us the questions through the insider program. We will put your questions up in segment 1. But yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. We really appreciate it. And I'm sorry that this season ended on such a bum note, but there are 28 other fan bases who would have killed to be in the World Series. So, it's a bummer, but, perspective here a little bit, just a little bit. So thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. Go check out Locked On MLB. Sully will be talking all about this on his show. The link to Locked On MLB is in the description, so you don't need to search. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Listen to the postcast, see what Jay had to say about this game. It's in our podcasting feed as well as streaming on Locked On Sports New York, their YouTube channel. Jay will talk about this game, every single moment of this game, where we kind of riffed a little bit. Jay will go through the play-by-play if you want to relive it. And Dodger fans, hey, go hate watch it if you want to. It gives us more numbers. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. So that'll do it for this live edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll see you in the offseason.